Ambassador Laura Bennett stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber with her hands folded behind her back and a calm smile on her face. She had worn that smile for 15 years. It was the smile humanity had agreed to show the galaxy. Soft, harmless, eager to please. The chamber was massive and filled with representatives from over 200 species. Some floated in liquid tanks. Others perched on platforms that matched their home world gravity. The Valori delegation sat at the highest tier because they believed themselves superior to everyone else. Their scaled faces showed permanent expressions of boredom and contempt. Hi, Councillor Vethran looked down at the human ambassador the way someone might look at a small pet that had learned an amusing trick. He had never hidden his opinion that humanity was a minor species. Useful for trade. Good for entertainment. Not worth much else. Laura kept her smile in place. She had learned patience. All of humanity had learned patience. Behind her stood Captain Daniel Gray of the diplomatic escort vessel Steadfast. He was a tall man with gray hair and steady eyes. He watched the council proceedings with the relaxed posture of someone who had nothing to worry about. That was also part of the act. The session today was supposed to be routine. Trade agreements. Border disputes between minor powers. The usual slow dance of galactic politics. Laura had attended hundreds of these meetings. She knew every face in the chamber. She knew their weaknesses. She knew their fears. The council did not know that she knew these things. Her earpiece buzzed with a priority signal. She tilted her head slightly and listened. The message was short. New Eden Colony. Attacked. Wrath Collective. Thousands dead. Survivors trapped. Laura's smile did not change, but something behind her eyes went very still. Captain Gray noticed. He shifted his weight slightly, and his hand moved an inch closer to the communicator on his belt. Laura raised her hand and requested permission to address the council. Vethran granted it with a lazy wave of his clawed hand. Honored counselors, Laura said in her most diplomatic voice. I have just received word that the human colony world of New Eden has been attacked by forces of the Wrath Collective. Thousands of our citizens are dead. Thousands more are in danger. I formally request council intervention under the Mutual Defense Protocols. A murmur rippled through the chamber. The Wrath Collective was a problem everyone knew about, but nobody wanted to solve. They were raiders, slavers. They attacked weak colonies and took what they wanted. The council had been trying to negotiate with them for decades. Vethran leaned forward and his yellow eyes narrowed. The Wrath situation is delicate. We are in the middle of sensitive negotiations with their leadership. A military response could destabilize the entire sector. Laura kept her voice even. With respect, High Counselor, our people are dying right now. We need immediate assistance. And you shall have our sympathy, Vethran said. But the Council cannot risk a wider conflict over one colony. Perhaps if humanity had invested more in its own defenses instead of relying on Council protection, this tragedy could have been avoided. Several delegates from other species nodded in agreement. Laura saw the pattern. The galaxy had decided long ago that humans were not worth fighting for. You are refusing to help, Laura said. It was not a question. We are choosing wisdom over haste, Vethran replied. The Council will form a committee to study the situation and recommend appropriate responses. In the meantime, we extend our condolences to the human people. Laura stood perfectly still. 15 years of careful acting. 15 years of bowing and smiling and pretending to be grateful for scraps of respect. 15 years of watching stronger species dismiss humanity as a relevant dot in the observer section. A synthetic being called Kira 7 recorded everything. Kira 7 had been documenting council proceedings for centuries. They had seen countless species come before this body to beg for help. Most of those species reacted to rejection with despair or anger. Ambassador Bennett did neither. Her expression remained pleasant, but Kira 7's advanced sensors detected something unusual. The human's heart rate had not increased. Her stress hormones had not spiked. Instead, there was a subtle shift in her posture. Her shoulders relaxed. Her breathing slowed. Kira to 7 had seen that pattern before. It was the physiological response of a predator that had just decided to stop playing with its food. "I understand," Laura said. Her voice was still calm, still polite. "Thank you for your consideration, High Counselor. I will relay your decision to my government." She turned and walked toward the exit. Captain Gray fell into step beside her. Neither of them looked back. Counselor Euthora watched them go. The insectoid diplomat had always been curious about humans. They were strange creatures, so soft and fragile looking, so eager to make friends. But sometimes, when Euthora looked at them closely, there was something that did not quite fit. Something that made her wings twitch with unease. She noticed that Captain Gray's hand was now resting on his communicator. She noticed that Ambassador Bennett was walking slightly faster than usual. She noticed that every human staff member in the chamber was quietly moving toward the exit dot in the corridor outside. Laura finally allowed her smile to fade. Her face became hard and cold. "Get me a secure channel to Earth," she said. "Priority 1. Daniel Gray handed her an encrypted communicator. "The fleet is standing by." "They've been standing by for 15 years. Laura nodded. She lifted the communicator to her ear and waited for the connection. On Earth, in a bunker 3 miles beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Kevin Torres answered the call. He was an old soldier who had spent his entire career preparing for a moment he hoped would never come. "Ambassador," he said, "what is the Council's response?" Laura looked back at the Council chamber doors. Through those doors sat the representatives of 200 species, who had just decided that human lives were not worth protecting. They thought they knew what humanity was. They were wrong. They said no, Laura said. "Proceed." Admiral Torres closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, they were filled with grim purpose. "Understood," he said. "God help them all." The channel closed. Laura put the communicator away and straightened her jacket. When she turned to face Captain Gray, she was no longer wearing her diplomatic mask. She was wearing the face of a woman whose people had been hurt. The face of a species that had been underestimated for the last time. How long until the first wave reaches New Eden? She asked. 12 hours, Gray replied. But the Wrath do not know they are coming. Nobody knows they are coming. Laura nodded slowly. Then I suppose the galaxy is about to meet the real humanity. She walked toward the human diplomatic quarters with steady steps. Behind her, the council continued its session. They discussed trade routes and mining rights and which species deserved what territory. They had already forgotten about the human colony burning on the edge of known space. They would not forget for long. 1 month had passed since the Battle of New Eden. The galaxy was still adjusting to the new reality. Senior Counselor Laura Bennett stood at the window of her new office on the council station. The title still felt strange. Senior Counselor, full voting member of the Galactic Council, equal to species that had been traveling between stars when humanity was still building pyramids. The view showed dozens of ships moving through the station's traffic lanes. Human vessels moved among them without hiding. Battleships and carriers and cruisers that had once been concealed in the dark spaces between stars. Now they flew openly. Now everyone could see them. A knock came at her door. Laura turned to see Counselor Euthara enter. "You look tired," Euthara said. Her wings folded neatly against her back as she approached. "I have not slept much lately," Laura admitted. "There is so much to do. Treaties to renegotiate. Diplomatic relationships to rebuild. Everyone wants to talk to humanity now. I imagine they do. Ithara settled into a chair across from Laura's desk. I have a question that has been bothering me. May I ask it? Of course. Was our friendship real? Ithara's compound eyes studied Laura's face. For years, I believed we had genuine respect for each other. Now I wonder if that was also part of your deception. Laura was quiet for a moment. Then she sat down across from Ithara. In the beginning, it was an act, she said honestly. I was trained to build relationships with key council members. You were identified as someone whose species might be sympathetic to humanity. I approached you with specific goals in mind. Ithara's antennae drooped slightly. But, Laura continued, something changed over the years. I spent so much time with you. We shared meals. We discussed philosophy and art and the nature of the universe. Somewhere along the way, I stopped pretending and started actually enjoying your company. The friendship became real even if it started as strategy. Ithara considered this. I believe you. I have learned to read human expressions better than most of my kind. I do not think you are lying. I am not. Your people treated us with kindness when many others did not. That mattered. It still matters. Then I am glad. Ithara's wings relaxed slightly. My government has decided to formalize an alliance with humanity. We believe you will be valuable partners in the years to come. Laura smiled. A genuine smile this time. We would be honored to have the Ithara as allies. Across the galaxy in the New Eden system, reconstruction was well underway. Ships arrived daily carrying building materials and supplies. Engineers worked around the clock to rebuild what the Wrath had destroyed. The colony that had nearly died was coming back to life. Tyler Knox stood in what used to be the Central Plaza. A month ago, this place had been full of smoke and screaming and death. Now workers were laying new paving stones. Children played in the streets again. The sounds of construction had replaced the sounds of war. Admiral Daniel Gray found him there. The former captain had been promoted after the battle. He commanded the defense fleet that now protected the colony. How are you holding up? Gray asked. Tyler looked at the admiral with eyes that had seen too much. I still have nightmares. I wake up thinking the Wrath are back. Then I see your ships in the sky, and I remember that we are safe. You will always be safe, Gray said. I promise you that. What happened here will never happen again, because now everyone knows what humanity can do. Yes, and because we will never hide again. Gray looked up at the warships in orbit. The pretending is over. From now on, the galaxy sees us as we really are. Tyler followed his gaze. Are you worried? That other species might try to attack us now that they know the truth. Gray shook his head. Let them try. We spent 15 years preparing for every possible threat. We know their weaknesses. We know their fears. Anyone foolish enough to challenge humanity will learn the same lesson the Wrath learned. What lesson is that? Gray's expression hardened. That we protect our own, no matter the cost. On Earth, Dr. Hannah Cole was reviewing the latest intelligence reports. The Wrath Collective had been completely dismantled. Their leaders were facing trial for crimes against humanity. Their allies had quietly distanced themselves from the fallen raiders. Nobody wanted to share their fate. Senator Paul Marsh entered her office with a datapad in his hand. The public opinion surveys are in, he said. Support for the revelation is at 94%. People are proud of what we accomplished. Hannah nodded, but her expression remained serious. We accomplished a rescue mission and showed the galaxy our teeth. The hard part comes next. What do you mean? We spent 15 years hiding, building, preparing for the worst. Now we have to learn how to live openly. How to be a major power without becoming the kind of bully we always feared. That is going to be much harder than pretending to be weak. Marsh considered her words. You think we might become what we were hiding from? I think power changes people and species. We need to be careful that we do not become so focused on strength that we forget why we wanted to be strong in the first place. In the council chamber, the formal ceremony was about to begin. Representatives from every major species had gathered to witness humanity's official acceptance as a full member of the galactic community. High Councilor Vethron stood at the podium. His face showed nothing, but a careful observer might notice that his claws were twitching nervously. The Galactic Council recognizes the human species as a full and equal member of this body, he announced. His voice was steady but flat. All rights and responsibilities of council membership are hereby granted. Laura Bennett stepped forward to accept the ceremonial seal of office. As she took it from Vethran, their eyes met briefly. She saw fear there, resentment, and underneath it all a grudging respect. "Thank you, High Counselor," she said. "Humanity is honored to take our place among the great species of this galaxy. We look forward to many years of peaceful cooperation." Vethran nodded stiffly and stepped back. The ceremony continued with speeches and formalities, but the real message had already been delivered. Humanity was no longer a minor player. They were a power to be respected and perhaps feared. That night, Lavra stood alone on an observation deck, looking out at the stars. So many worlds out there. So many species. So many dangers and wonders waiting to be discovered. Captain Gray found her there as he often did. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "The future," Lavra replied. "For 15 years, we focused on survival, on hiding and building and preparing. Now we have to figure out what kind of species we want to be." "What do you want us to be?" Lavra was quiet for a long moment. "I want us to be protectors, not conquerors. I want other species to see humanity coming and feel safe instead of afraid. I want us to use our strength to help those who cannot help themselves. That is a noble goal. It is the only goal worth having." She turned to face him. "We showed the galaxy that we are dangerous. Now we need to show them that we are also good, that our strength serves a purpose beyond our own survival." Gray smiled slightly. "That sounds like something worth working toward." Somewhere on a distant world, an alien child asked their parent why the humans had so many ships. The parent thought for a moment before answering. "Because they protect their own," the parent said. "And now they might protect us too." The child looked up at the stars and wondered what it would be like to have such powerful friends. Across the galaxy, humanity was waking up to a new day. The masks were off. The pretending was over. They stood revealed as what they had always been. A species that loved fiercely and fought harder. A species that never forgot a friend or forgave an enemy. A species that had hidden in the shadows until the shadows were no longer needed. Now they stood in the light, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Vrath warlord Krazith stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched his warriors load human prisoners into transport ships. The raid had been easy. The colony's defenses were weak, just as his intelligence had promised. The humans had screamed and run like prey animals. Some had tried to fight, but they were soft creatures with no claws and no fangs. They fell quickly. Krazith was pleased. Human slaves sold well in the outer markets. They were obedient once properly broken. They could survive in many environments. This raid would make him wealthy. His tactical officer made a sound of confusion. Krazith turned to look at the display. "Ships dropping out of faster than light travel," the officer said. "Many ships." Krazith watched the display with growing disbelief. One ship appeared. Then 10. Then 50. Then the display could not keep up with the count. Human ships poured into the system like water through a broken dam. They were not the small diplomatic vessels the galaxy knew. They were warships. Heavy cruisers, battleships, carriers launching fighters by the hundreds. How many? Krazith demanded. The tactical officer's voice shook. Over 300 and still arriving. Krazith felt something he had not felt in decades. Fear. Commander. Lisa Park watched the Wrath fleet scramble into defensive positions. They were disorganized and confused. Good. Confusion was the first weapon in any battle. All ships target their engines first, she ordered. I want them unable to run. After that, prioritize the transports. Our people are on those ships. The human fleet opened fire. The first volley tore through Wrath shields like they were made of paper. The raiders had never faced weapons like these. Human engineers had spent 15 years studying every piece of alien technology they could find and then building something better. On the ground, Sergeant Marcus Webb led his platoon through the burning streets of New Eden's capital city. The Wrath had left only a small occupation force. They had not expected a rescue. They had expected humanity to send diplomats and negotiators and perhaps a few symbolic ships. Instead, they got soldiers. Webb and his team moved with speed and precision that no alien had ever seen from humans. They had trained for this. Every scenario, every enemy type. They knew exactly how Wrath warriors thought and fought and died. A group of Wrath soldiers rounded a corner and saw the human platoon. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the Wrath raised their weapons. They were dead before they could fire a single shot. Webb stepped over the bodies and kept moving. Behind him, his soldiers checked each building for survivors. They found humans hiding in basements and underground shelters. Families who had waited for death and instead found salvation. A young man named Tyler Knox crawled out of a collapsed building. His clothes were torn and his face was covered in dust and dried blood. He stared at the human soldiers like he was looking at ghosts. You came, he whispered. They said nobody would come. Webb put a hand on his shoulder. We always come. It just took us a little while to get here. In orbit, the battle was becoming a slaughter. The Wrath fleet was designed for raiding defenseless colonies. They had never fought an enemy that could match them ship for ship. The human fleet was overwhelming them with firepower and tactics they had never encountered. Warlord Krazith watched his ships die one by one. He ordered a retreat, but human vessels had already moved to block the escape routes. They were trapped. This is not possible, he said. The humans are weak. Everyone knows they are weak. His tactical officer did not respond. The officer was staring at the display with wide eyes. A human battleship was cutting through the center of the Wrath formation. It moved with impossible grace for something so large. Its weapons fired in perfect synchronization. Every shot found its target. Commander Park watched the Wrath flagship on her screen. The battle was almost over. Most of the enemy ships were disabled or destroyed. The transports carrying human prisoners had been captured intact. Her people were being freed even as she stood here. Hail the enemy flagship, she ordered. Krazith's face appeared on her screen. He was trying to look defiant, but she could see the fear in his eyes. Warlord Krazith, Park said. I am Commander Lisa Park of the Human Defense Force. You attacked our colony. You killed our people. You took our civilians as slaves. Krazith bared his fangs. I did what the strong do to the weak. This is the way of things. Park's expression did not change. Then you will understand what comes next. The strong take what they want. And we want you. Krazith's flagship was boarded within the hour. Human Marines moved through the corridors with brutal efficiency. They had studied Wrath physiology. They knew where to shoot to disable. They knew where to shoot to kill. Krazith was dragged from his command chair and forced to his knees. Park stood before him with her hands clasped behind her back. What are you? Krazith demanded. You are not the humans we knew. You cannot be. Park crouched down to look him in the eyes. We are exactly what we always were. We just stopped pretending. On the surface of New Eden, survivors gathered in the central plaza. Human soldiers distributed food and medical supplies. Engineers began repairs on essential systems. Ships landed carrying reinforcements and relief workers. Tyler Knox sat on a pile of rubble and watched the activity around him. Just hours ago, he had been certain he was going to die. He had watched his neighbors dragged away in chains. He had hidden in the ruins and prayed that death would be quick when it came. Now human warships filled the sky. Human soldiers walked through the streets. The Wrath were gone, dead or captured. A medic knelt beside him and checked his injuries. She was young with kind eyes and gentle hands. "You are going to be okay," she said. "We have ships coming with supplies and medicine. Your colony will be rebuilt." "How?" Tyler asked. "How did you get here so fast?" "The council said nobody would help us." The medic smiled, but there was something hard behind her eyes. "The council does not speak for humanity. They never have." Tyler looked up at the warships in orbit. He thought about all the times aliens had called humans weak. All the times the galaxy had dismissed his species as harmless and unimportant. He thought about the soldiers who had come to save him and the fleet that had destroyed an enemy everyone believed was unstoppable. "They did not know," he said slowly. "Nobody knew what we really are." The medic patted his shoulder and stood up. "No, but they are about to find out." Across the New Eden system, human forces secured their victory. Wrath prisoners were gathered and processed. Disabled ships were towed to collection points. The few Wrath who escaped into faster-than-light travel were tracked by sensors they did not know existed. Commander Park returned to her bridge and opened a channel to Earth. "New Eden is secure," she reported. "Enemy forces neutralized. Civilian casualties are still being counted, but we have rescued over 8,000 prisoners from Wrath transports." Admiral Torres received the report with grim satisfaction. "Excellent work, Commander. Hold position and await further orders." "Understood." Park paused. "Sir, what happens now?" "The galaxy will know what we can do. They will be afraid." "Yes," Torres said. "They will be. And that fear will keep our people safe." The channel closed. Park looked out at the stars and wondered what the council was going to say. When they learned the truth, they would learn soon enough. The Galactic Council chamber fell silent for the first time in living memory. Representatives from 200 species stared at the holographic display in the center of the room. The display showed footage from the Battle of New Eden. Human warships, tearing through Wrath raiders like they were made of paper. Human soldiers moving with deadly precision through burning streets. Human marines boarding enemy vessels and taking prisoners. High Councilor Vethron sat frozen in his chair. His scaled face had gone pale. His claws gripped the armrests so tightly they left scratches in the metal. "This is a fabrication," someone said from the back of the chamber. "It must be." Intelligence Director Mothiel stepped forward. The avian diplomat had spent years tracking inconsistencies in human reports. Small things that did not quite add up. Ship movements that seemed random but formed patterns when viewed over long periods. Industrial outputs that were too low for a species with so many worlds. "It is not fabrication," Mothiel said. His voice was calm, but his feathers were ruffled with agitation. "I have been investigating human activities for over a decade. I knew something was wrong, but I did not understand the scale until now." He pulled up a new display. Numbers and charts filled the air. Human official reports claim a population of approximately 2 billion across all their worlds. Our latest estimates suggest the real number is closer to 18 billion. They have been hiding colonies. Entire worlds that we did not know existed. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Mothiel continued. Human ship registries show 50 vessels in their defense force. Our sensors have now detected over 12,000 active warships. They were hidden in asteroid belts, disguised as civilian transports. Some appear to have been stored in artificially created pocket dimensions. Lethran found his voice. Impossible. We would have detected such a massive military buildup. We did not detect it because we were not looking, Mathio replied. We assumed humans were exactly what they appeared to be. Friendly, cooperative, slightly foolish. We never imagined they might be deceiving us. Fleet Admiral Karath rose from his seat. The massive reptilian warrior commanded the Council's combined military forces. His face was grim. This changes everything, he said. We have a hidden superpower in our midst. A species that has been lying to us for 15 years. I recommend immediate mobilization of all Council forces. We must strike before they become an uncontrollable threat. Strike? Ambassador Laura Bennett's voice cut through the chaos. She had been standing quietly at the back of the chamber. Now she walked forward with steady steps. Her diplomatic mask was gone. In its place was something cold and sharp. You would attack us? She asked. After you refused to help our people? After you left thousands of our citizens to die because you did not want to inconvenience yourselves? Karath bared his teeth. You have been deceiving the entire galaxy. You cannot expect us to trust you now. We never expected you to trust us, Laura said. That is why we prepared. She stopped in the center of the chamber and looked around at the assembled delegates. Many of them refused to meet her eyes. From the first day humanity entered the galactic community, we learned a simple truth. The strong take what they want and the weak suffer. Every species here has proven that lesson time and time again. You carve up territory. You exploit resources. You let predators like the Vroth attack defenseless colonies because stopping them would be too much trouble. Our voice grew harder. We saw what happened to species that showed weakness. We saw them lose their worlds, lose their freedom, lose everything. So we made a choice. We would never be weak, but we would never let you know we were strong. Vethran leaned forward. You deceived us all. You lied to this council for 15 years. We survived, Laura replied. Just like every species here has done whatever was necessary to survive. The only difference is that we were better at it than you expected. Silence fell over the chamber. Fleet Admiral Karath's hand moved toward his communicator. Laura noticed. Admiral, I would advise against whatever you are considering, she said. At this moment, there are human ships in orbit around this station. Ships that were not here yesterday. Ships that you did not see arrive. If you attempt to mobilize against us, those ships will ensure that no signal leaves this system. Karath's hand stopped. He looked up at the ceiling as if he could see through it to the stars beyond. How many ships? He asked quietly. Enough, Laura said. Counselor Yithara rose from her seat. The insectoid diplomat had been silent throughout the revelation. Now she stepped forward to stand beside the human ambassador. Perhaps we should listen before we react, Yithara said. Ambassador Bennett, what does humanity want? Laura looked at her with something like gratitude. We want what we have always wanted. Safety, security, a place in the galaxy where our people can live without fear. And if we cannot give you that, Vethran asked, then we will take it, Laura said simply. But we would rather not. Despite everything, we have genuine respect for many species in this chamber. We have made real friendships over the years. Real connections. We do not want to become conquerors. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We just want to be left alone. She paused and let her words sink in. However, there are conditions. First, humanity will receive full membership on this council. Not observer status. not junior partnership. Full voting rights and full participation in all decisions. Vethran's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Second, the Wrath Collective will be turned over to human custody. They attacked our people. They killed our citizens. They will face human justice. The Wrath have powerful allies, Karth warned. Their allies may object. Their allies are welcome to object, Lawver said. We will be happy to explain our position to them. In detail, the implied threat hung in the air. Karth looked away. Third and finally, Lawver continued, there will be no retaliation against humanity for our deception. No sanctions. No military action. No attempts to isolate us diplomatically. We will pretend the last 15 years did not happen and start fresh. And if we refuse these conditions? Vethran asked. Lara smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Then we stop pretending to be diplomatic about this. High Counselor, I have spent 15 years bowing and smiling and accepting insults because that was what my people needed me to do. I am very tired of bowing. She turned to face the entire chamber. You called us weak. You called us harmless. You ignored our pleas for help when our colony burned. And now you have seen what we really are. So here is my final question to this council. Do you want humanity as your friend or as your enemy? Because I promise you, you do not want us as your enemy. The chamber was completely silent. 200 species looked at the human woman standing in their midst and saw something they had never seen before. They saw a predator that had been hiding among them all. Along, Vethran was the first to speak. His voice was quiet and defeated. The council will deliberate on your conditions, Ambassador. I expect we will find them acceptable. Lara nodded. I thought you might. We will await your decision. She turned and walked out of the chamber. Every eye followed her until the doors closed behind her. In the corridor, Captain Daniel Gray was waiting. He fell into step beside her. How did it go? He asked. Lara let out a long breath. They are scared. Scared species can be dangerous. But I think they understand. Understand what? Lara looked at him with tired eyes. That the galaxy just changed forever. And there is nothing any of them can do about it. Deep beneath the mountains of North America, Admiral Kevin Torres walked through corridors that officially did not exist. The bunker was called Blackstone, and it had been built in secret over 30 years. Every nation on Earth had contributed resources. Every government had kept a secret. This was humanity's insurance policy against a hostile universe. The command center was filled with officers, monitoring screens that showed ship positions across the galaxy. There were not 50 human ships, as the Council believed. There were 12,000. They were hidden in asteroid fields. They were disguised as mining platforms. They were folded into pocket dimensions that human scientists had discovered and never shared with their alien friends. Dr. Hannah Cole met the Admiral at the main display. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a mind that never stopped working. For 15 years, she had led the effort to understand every species humanity might one day face. The Wrath attack force consists of approximately 80 warships, she said. Standard raider configuration. They expected no resistance. And our response? Torres asked. Hannah pulled up a new display. Red dots appeared across the map. Hundreds of them. First wave is already moving. 300 ships from Hidden Fleet 7. They will arrive at New Eden in 11 hours. The Wrath have no idea they are coming. Senator Paul Marsh entered the command center with heavy steps. He was the civilian authority here, the one who had to approve what came next. His face was pale, but his voice was steady. I just finished briefing the other world leaders, he said. Everyone agrees. We proceed as planned. Torres nodded. Then it is time to wake up the rest of our forces. Across the galaxy, in places nobody had thought to look, human ships began to stir. Crews who had trained in secret for years received their orders. Engines that had been cold for decades came to life. Weapon systems that the Council had never seen powered up and ran diagnostics in the Council station. Ambassador Laura Bennett returned to her diplomatic quarters. Her staff was already packing essential items, not because they were fleeing, but because they might need to move quickly, depending on how the next few days unfolded. Captain Daniel Gray stood by the window looking out at the stars. I have been pretending to be a simple escort captain for 8 years, he said. Before that I commanded a carrier group that the galaxy does not know exists. Sometimes I wonder if I remember how to be myself. Lavra joined him at the window. We all wear masks. The difference is that now we get to take them off. The Council will be afraid, Gray said. Afraid species do dangerous things. They should have thought of that before they abandoned our people to die. There was a knock at the door. Lavra nodded, and Gray opened it to reveal Councillor Uthara standing in the corridor. The insectoid diplomat looked nervous. Her wings were pressed flat against her back, and her antennae twitched rapidly. May I enter? She asked. I wish to speak with you privately. Lavra gestured for her to come inside. Uthara moved with the careful steps of someone who suspected they were walking into danger. I have been watching humans for many years, Uthara said. Your species is strange. You smile too much. You agree too easily. You never push back when stronger species insult you. Is that a problem? Lavra asked. It is a pattern, Uthara replied. And patterns that do not make sense usually mean that something is hidden. She paused and her compound eyes studied Laura's face. I saw your expression when the Council refused your request. Most species would have shown anger or despair. You showed neither. You showed nothing at all. Lavra was silent for a long moment. Then she made a decision. Counselor, I am going to give you a warning. Not as a diplomat, but as someone who has come to respect you over the years we have worked together. Uthara's wings lifted slightly. I am listening. Tell your people to stay out of our way for the next few days. Do not interfere. Do not ask questions. Just stay clear of the New Eden sector and wait. Wait for what? Laura's expression softened, just a little. Wait for the galaxy to change. Uthara stood very still. Then she nodded slowly. I have always suspected that humans were more than they appeared. I hoped I was wrong. Are you going to warn the Council? Lavra asked. No, Uthara said. I am going to contact my government and tell them exactly what you told me. Whatever is coming, my people will not stand in your way. She left without another word. Lavra watched her go and felt a small measure of relief. The Uthara Collective had always been kind to humanity. She was glad they would not be caught in what came next. Back on Earth, Dr. Hannah Cole was reviewing the files that her department had assembled over 15 years. Every species in the galaxy had been studied. Their biology, their psychology, their military tactics, their political weaknesses. The Wrath were predators. They respected only strength. They attacked weak targets because they believed the strong had the right to take from the weak. They had never encountered a species that could match them in savagery. The irony, Hannah said to Admiral Torres, is that humans are exactly what the Wrath think they are. We are predators too. We just learned to hide it better. Torres looked at the display showing the human fleet moving into position. Thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, weapons that could crack planets. We hid because we had to, he said. The galaxy made it clear from the first day that being strong meant being feared, and being feared meant being attacked. So we chose to be underestimated instead. And now? Now they have given us no choice. They attacked our people. They killed our children. They will learn what happens when you wake a sleeping giant. The first human ships began to drop out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Eden system. Their crews looked at the tactical displays showing the Wrath fleet in orbit around the burning colony. They saw the transport ships loading. Human prisoners to be sold as slaves. Commander. Lisa Park stood on the bridge of the battleship Relentless and watched the enemy. Ships with cold eyes. Signal all vessels, she said. Weapons free. No mercy. The human fleet surged forward, and the Wrath had no idea what was about to hit them. On the council station, representatives from dozens of species went about their business. They discussed treaties and trade and the endless politics of galactic civilization. None of them noticed that every human in the station had gone quiet. None of them noticed the strange calm that had settled over the diplomatic quarters. None of them knew that the galaxy they understood was about to end.